Hello, welcome to another Profound Experience of Poetry. This is like a bonus feature of the Profound Experience of Poetry book club. And today I'm talking with one of our members, Francisca Matos. My name's Lucy. I'm the editor of Profound Experience and Shabby Dollhouse, and I wrote some books and stuff. And anyway, it's not about me. So could you introduce yourself, Francisca?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Francisca. I'm a writer from Lisbon, Portugal, but actually a suburb of Lisbon, not the actual city. Um, I'm a member of the Profound Experience Poetry Club. It's great. I wrote a book, a poetry book slash memoir, I guess. It's coming out at the end of June with Right Bloody UK. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the fact that you use the word memoir there, like, is like exciting to me because I kind of was feeling like it felt like that, but that it seems like a unusual move for a poetry book. I guess like maybe we're like diving in too soon to the book itself because it hasn't come out yet and other people haven't read it, but I've read it, so and can you talk about like how you decided to make it like a poetry memoir book? How did you come across that?
Yeah, I guess it feels kind of weird to call it a memoir because I don't know. Think when you say memoir, you kind of like imply I've lived a lot, and I, I'm not. I'm pretty young, but um, I guess when I began writing the poems, or even thinking about writing poems, I always knew, oh, I want to write about where I'm from and my friends, and but that's not really enough, and that wouldn't work if I didn't talk about myself. So yeah, the memoir thing, it just kind of came after I realized that, and yeah, so I just really like narrative poems and poems about memories. That's what I like to read, or what I was reading at the time. And yeah, I'm also really obsessed with this like time in a person's life. Maybe because that's the only time I've lived so far, but which I guess, yeah. But so I just did that.
Yeah, like a lot of the poems are about like being a teenager and uh like I feel like you really like captured that like feeling, that like experience of being that age, and like always you're always kind of just like waiting for like your life to begin, but then all this other stuff's like happening around you at the same time, and like I don't know, like did you feel, I don't really know what the question is here, but just like how did you how did you see that so clearly? Like I feel like it's hard to like be like a witness to your own life in the way that you are in that book.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess. Yeah, I know what you mean. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's I I guess that's why I wanted to write the book, um, because that has always been something I was very aware of, and I was always very suspicious that of what was happening, and that this was going to end. So while things were happening, really um, I was already suffering with the knowing that it was going to end,
Yeah.
and I know that I wasn't the only one feeling that way, but maybe um, they didn't like. I know it's a common feeling, and I know everyone feels that, but maybe not necessarily in that way. And um, yeah, I just wanted to point it out. um, and yeah,
And the setting for I mean, maybe we should describe the book, or like you could describe the book like a little bit more to people who don't know what it's about, because we're talking about it like everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, so my book is set in the suburbs where I grew up, which is really close to Lisbon. You basically it's a 30-minute train to Lisbon, and it's a really interesting place for me, and because um, it's very mm, like it's just very um, nuanced, I guess. Like I just like grew. It's in some ways it's really like posh and fancy, and in other ways it isn't at all. And it was just very. It's confusing to see how those things interact. Um, and yeah, and it's by the sea, and yeah, it's close to Lisbon, but it's not in Lisbon, so you don't really participate in that city life. You always, or you do, but always knowing that you at the end of the day or the night you have to come back.
Right.
So you never really belong to the city.
And I mean, like the thing that strikes me about the place, and like because I've been there, like every time I've gone to Lisbon, like I always want to go to the beach, so I'm like
Mhm.
on that train, like going like along the coast. And the thing about it for me is like it's just like so like stunningly beautiful. Like the sea is like amazing, and the sky is like bright blue, and the plants are like, like it it's like the edge of the continent, right? Like it just
Mhm.
feels like you're on kind of the end of Europe or something.
Yeah.
um but but like, so like knowing that, like when I'm reading your book, and there's a lot of like darkness and about like being a teen, and like people dying, and it's like sort of like really difficult stuff. But then like with like the backdrop of like that landscape, like it's just like a really nice, it's like it feels like a really cinematic, which
Yeah. I guess yeah. I mean, I definitely always looked at it, and I romanticize it, yeah. But it's true. Because it is there is a contrast between how it looks and the things that happen there. And yeah, I wanted to bring those to the surface and talk about them. Yeah, because it can be so touristy, especially in the summer. It can kind of seem just like perfect. um, but yeah, there's also a lot of suffering. But and I'm very conscious about saying suffering because I know it's not. Um, I don't know. I guess in the book I was trying to write about, because I definitely suffered, and I could definitely tell everyone was suffering, but it's in a very specific way, because it's not like um I don't know, it's not, it could be so much worse, and it looks so nice. So I wanted to talk about that in that way.
yeah. Is it like the way that the way it looks, like it feels kind of like a teen movie or something, that's like I feel like American stuff like that, it's always like in California, and it's like, oh, there's these kids, and like it feels kind of like that, apart from it's in Portugal. Like to me, like it feels like a landscape. I don't I mean like kind of the like it feels like a landscape that we're like familiar with, right? Like something like it's glamorous.
Yeah.
But then usually like that kind of stuff, like if it's like in a movie or something, like it's like, oh look, everything's great, or like we have some trivial problems, and here's like it's funny or something. But then I like love that you have like a poetry book that's like set in a place like this, but it's not like that. Like it just feels I don't know. Even for a poetry book to have like a setting is kind of unusual.
Yeah. Um Yeah, and that's actually that last thing you said. Yeah, at some point I didn't know if this was even, I guess in some poems they're structured as a poem, but I feel like they could work in different ways. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to do next. But I needed to write these to like
Yeah.
have I just to like give myself permission to write other things and fictionalize things. I wanted it to be really real and truthful, or at least how I just as truthful as I could be. Um, but yeah, I want in I wanted it. Yes, it's about like adolescence, and it's in a place that could be, you know, like from yeah, like it can sound American, like those American like teen shows, but I also wanted to make it clear how it operated and the rules are very different from those shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what like growing up there and like I don't know, like growing up in general, like were you always into poetry? Like was that important in the culture that you like existed in, or um was that just you?
No, I not at all. uh, I, I know that Sebastian said in his interview that he felt like he came to it. He came to I don't know, writing really late when he was 21. It kind of was the same for me. Um, I read a lot, but not necessarily poetry, and I didn't write until college. Um, yeah, and yeah, and
So
poetry is in our lives just for school, just for
right,
exams, and it can seem very old and archaic.
yeah. And so what happened like when you like decided you like it?
Um, I yeah, we were taught in poetry in school and as in uni, and I started reading a lot of American stuff. Um, I feel like it was the same as you. Like you start reading a lot of the Beats and Frank O'Hara, and you think, oh, I could, if this feels approachable, and I could do this, and yeah, and then I um just found out stuff online and started reading contemporary poetry um, by myself, just finding stuff online. That's actually how I found Shabby Dollhouse. And then I was really sad because it was over and I got to it really late.
Oh, it'll be back.
Oh,
Um, but so you were always reading. There's a ferry. I don't know if you can hear it. But were you always reading in English? Like, or did you also read, or do you also read in Portuguese
I
poetry?
read mostly in English. Yeah, I don't know why. Um, but yeah, everyone kind of, we have this thing. When I think it's because of school, the way we're taught and the way just the way we're taught and how they make us read um, in class, like Portuguese class and everything. You just kind of maybe rebel. I don't know, but
Mm.
yeah, I just kind of always read in English and weirdly felt closer to it, um, or like to American literature and stuff than our own.
And do you feel like, I mean, in a way, it's like you can sort of be whoever you want, right? Like you can.
Mhm.
Do you think there's like some freedom in thinking like, oh, maybe like some people I know can't read this, so I can write whatever I want, or maybe they can
um,
read it. I don't know.
I think they can read it, but I don't know what it is, but I couldn't write. the things I wrote in the book in Portuguese. And even my friends who just anytime they write something, they just write. They just prefer to write it in English. I just think it gives them more. It gives us more freedom, and it's like it just sounds really. I don't know. It just sounds weirdly better in English. I don't know. It's not better. Better is not the word. I take it back.
Yeah.
They just, yeah. I just think maybe it's a cultural thing, but I definitely needed the distance in the language to write about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense as well because like you're writing like a memoir, but you're like, yeah, you're still really young and you're writing about something that happened when you were like even younger, and like it's so close to you,
Yeah.
right? And I think that like for a lot of people, like, and I know like for me, like if I write about something from my own life, like it's easier often to do like after like a number of years has passed. And so in a way, like if you can sort of like short circuit that and like write in a different language, like it does give you like sort of another place to take it or something. Like
Yeah.
you didn't have those experiences in English, so you can like,
Talk about them.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Because in when I was doing, did I don't remember if I said it, but when I was doing the masters, I I'm in London. I've been doing a masters. I did a master's in creative writing, and whenever I had meetings with our tutors, sometimes it would be like, "Oh, you could name this street. Make it." Someone actually said make it more Portuguese, which I had issues about, but I know what they meant, and they wanted things to be more specific. And it was like, "Oh, I wonder what this beach is called." But because it wasn't that long ago that these things happened, I that's why I don't name anything.
Right,
Even like I love when poems name people, and but I couldn't do it. I and it didn't feel right to make up a different name because it's in Portuguese.
right.
Um, so I just chose to not do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always like it's just, I guess, like finding that line of like it just has to be comfortable for you because really, like, it doesn't make any difference to anybody
Mm,
else. Like nobody's
yeah,
really like, oh, this like I feel better knowing what beach or whatever. Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
Like I get
Uh,
the intention. I think they wanted it to be more. Um, just wanted me to be more specific and maybe more detailed, but I couldn't. I don't know. It's people I know. It's places I'm still very much there. So yeah.
yeah. And so like, so you have you ever like written poetry in Portuguese? Like, did you ever do that or you just went straight to English?
No, I went straight to English. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
Um, and so did you write Hard Summer in the MA, in the masters?
I started it in the masters. I started um, actually last year during the first lockdown. That's where I began thinking. I just became more serious about writing, and I don't put and yeah about being a writer because during the
Wow.
first semester of the MA, I didn't really know what was going on because it was my first time being in school for it. There's not really writing classes in Portugal, and if there were, it's not in English. Uh, so I was so lost in the first semester, and then during the lockdown, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna
Wait,
do this.
so so you lived in Portugal, then you moved to London in like 2019, like September or
Yeah,
something. And then you were like, you did like a few months of normal school, and then it was just like, right, now it's a pandemic.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
And then you wrote a book really fast, and then now it's already being published. I didn't know it happened so quickly.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I wrote some of it for the portfolio,
Hmm.
and then I won that contest to have the
Yeah.
book. And then I had to write like 30 more poems in a really short amount of time.
Damn. Okay, so it's interesting that you said you wrote it like during the first lockdown, because I feel like so many people I've spoken to have been like, oh, I didn't do anything for like the first 6 months or 8 months or whatever. But that it didn't stop you, I guess.
No, because I hadn't done it before.
Yeah,
Because like this was it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to start writing and trying to be a writer, whatever that means. So yeah, it was like my first year of, oh, and the MA is just a year.
right,
And so half of it was during a pandemic. I moved to London, and then in March I was back home again, and it felt
right.
really weird
So you went back to Portugal
for a
for
while.
okay, and that's where you wrote it, like while you were there?
Yeah, I wrote some of it in Portugal, and then but most of it I wrote it in London when I came back.
Wow. Okay, and so then, so I guess so you like formed like a manuscript of some kind that isn't what the book actually is, but and then you just thought, I'm gonna enter this contest, and then you won.
Yeah.
So can you tell me like what happened with that? Like what was the contest?
Yeah, so it was so Ripe Bloody, I guess they're big in the States because they publish a lot of slam poets, and Ripe Bloody, which I'm not a slam poet, and Ripe, but it's cool. um,
But no offense if you were.
no, it's great. I just you wouldn't want me on stage, like, trust me. But yeah, and then Ripe Bloody UK has just launched, and they had one author, so they did a contest for the next two poets, and you had to submit 5 poems, and I did, and then there was a short list, and then you had to make a video,
Of what?
and just oh yeah, a video of you reading it.
Oh,
So I
okay.
made that like video for my poem.
The one that is online now
Yeah, yeah,
of your okay, cool. All right, I'll put a link to this video because it's
yeah.
really I'll put it in here
Yeah,
because it's really good.
you'll understand why I'm not a slam poet. Um, yeah, and then yeah, I remember entering first. You just had to submit 5 poems, and
Hmm.
then the terms and conditions it said this will be for a full collection. It'll be minimum 50 poems, and I was like, oh well, this is impossible. Well, that's another problem for another day if I win. And then I did, and I had to write more poems.
Oh my God, wow. And so then like so when was that? When did that happen that you got that
It
news?
happened in October.
Okay. And but by then probably you had already started. Did you know that you were working on a book?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, I had the project. Like, I knew vaguely what I wanted it to be. It was already called Hard Summer,
Yeah.
but it didn't have sort of like the memoir structure or
Yeah.
anything. So then from November to March, I wrote all those poems.
Oh my God. The reason why I'm shocked is because it's really good. Like
Oh,
I'm
really?
like like I'm like really surprised that it came together in this way because it feels like so cohesive and it's like it's a great collection and like anyone
Thank
who's
you.
listening, like I really, really recommend it to you. Like so to hear that like you didn't really even have like an idea of what it was going to be like until you already had like I mean it's a good way to get like forced into writing a book, I guess, right? Like you were like
Yeah,
shit, it's
and
like
I
going to be
think
published.
like deciding that it was going to be really personal
Hmm.
and you know memoir like, it helped because so every time I'd write a certain amount of poems, I'd print them all out and see, okay, but I haven't spoken about this or this thing that happened. So it was, I guess it helped to fill in the gaps of the things I still wanted to say and I hadn't touched on.
Yeah. And so you've kind of been between Lisbon and London like a few times, right? In this
Mm.
year or so. Um, like did so I guess you wrote it in both places. And
Yeah, but as soon as I finished, so I just came back to London
mm.
because as soon as I finished the manuscript, I wanted to go because I've just been sitting here for 3 months. Yeah, um, yeah,
Wow.
but it was
Okay.
good. It made me take it really seriously and have a routine, which I didn't have. I didn't own a desk.
Did you start writing at a desk?
Yeah, I bought a desk, I built it, and I wrote a book on it.
Oh yeah.
You
Wow.
know, I would wake up and just like, yeah, sit here.
Yeah. So
Very short commute, as you can see. But yeah,
if anyone's like struggling with how to write, like this is a maybe a technique that could work for other people. Buy a desk, build it, just go and
yeah.
work on it and write a whole book in a few
Sign a
months.
contract that says you need to write this amount of poems.
Wow. Okay. That's really like funny, but like just so, like it's really cool that that it worked out that way. Like, but also like, were you entering loads of contests, or was this just like the only one?
I entered another one, but yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
I
I mean,
wasn't thinking too much. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I was just very lucky. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
I love
then,
that.
it made me move.
Right. And so like you've finished this now and it's going to come out next month. Like, how do you feel? I guess well, not many people have read it so far, right? Because it doesn't exist yet.
No, you've read
But
it. So a few people have read it. Yeah.
how do you feel about other people reading it?
Uh, well, I am nervous, but so far it's been. I've only heard from a few friends and you, and it's been good. But I'm a little bit nervous, also because I ended up and I didn't plan on doing it, but I ended up writing a lot about my family. Um, and good thing they don't really read in English. But
You're like saying it quietly.
yeah, yeah, as if they were here. um, no, I'm okay. This is good.
Will they want to read it, or they not like won't be
Yeah,
bothered?
no, yeah, yeah, no, they will
I
read
mean,
it.
they're gonna be happy that you got a book.
Everyone's very excited. Um,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just because I was sort of in this bubble for 3 months. I just felt crazy. I was in this trance writing these things, and so now I can't really think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
it's
deal with it
amazing.
when it's time.
Yeah, I'll be fine. It's like nobody like in the nicest way possible. I mean, like nobody cares as much about
Yeah, no, no,
you
no.
as
Yeah,
you care about yourself or whatever. So it's like it's gonna be great. Like everybody's just gonna be like, this is cool.
yeah. No, I realize that. That's something I learned also. That when if you really commit to something, no one can really say anything. No one can really
Yeah.
make fun. No one really cares, and also no one. Yeah, it also helps to look at it as just like it's just the first thing I've ever written. So, and that's fine. It can be flawed, and it should be, and can feel all those things. You know, when you watch a movie and then you become obsessed with it, and you just want to watch everything the person's made, and yeah, you just find their first movies or the things they did in college or like in film school. You're like, oh, this is where it all started, and you can see like some things that they just carried on, like exploring, or you just can tell they're interested in that. That's like the thing that's keeping me like calm about it. They're like, yeah, it's just like
just the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of like cinema references in the book. Is that like how did what's your relationship to film, I guess?
um,
Mhm.
I really like it. I know I really like it. I just watch a lot of movies. It's um I'm very visual. Um I'm always very interested in how things look. Um and and because it's yeah. And yeah, I took a lot of film classes in college, and so a lot of there's movie poems that I wrote. They're still about me and the things around me, but I wanted to title them as the movie I was watching, because it's just sort of how I respond to movies. Um, I'm like, you always like kind of insert yourself in it, and even like the characters are like, oh, kind they're kind of the same, or you just or you know uh yeah. I
I felt like when I was reading your book, like I felt that you sort of achieved something like that, like what you're saying about how you put yourself in the movie. Like it felt easy to put myself in the book because you kept you like you in like a lot of the poems you'll talk about like my girls,
mm,
and I like it just, but in a way where it didn't feel like you were being like my girls are like, well, like, um untouchable or something. It felt like
mm,
an invitation, like you can be one of them, like for the story, like, or for the book, like you can be part of the gang or something. And
yeah,
so I
cool, that's cool.
yeah, I thought like, yeah, it just felt like you could, like you the person who was the speaker, if you will, was like being like, yeah, come hang out, like, and I'll tell you about things.
Yeah, I also I I think I tend to do that. I do that a lot in the book because I'm especially because this is about my friends and who are very much in my life and will read it, and it's also their story and my family, um and also myself. And I'm very scared of being misunderstood, or I always want to be in control, and that's not really possible. But at least in the poems, I feel like I was always trying to be like, okay, so here's what happened, or I'm gonna show you what happened, just maybe to be in control. Yeah.
Are you the kind of person who, like, when you're like hanging out in the like when you're with your friends, like when you're with your family, when you're like doing things in normal life, like, are you like in the middle of the group, like being like, I'm gonna tell you about things, or are you like in the background, kind of like taking, not like taking notes, but like remember, like, I don't know. I'm interested in like how you are in real life, like, in relation to like how you write the poems or something.
I'm the one who's always like worried if everyone's having like if everyone's okay, if everyone's having fun. I guess I'm both, um, but I'm not. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm the wallflower in the background, but I'm also very much looking from the outside. Um, yeah.
And so I feel like before you had writing, like before you just discovered it one day, like, did you find it difficult to, like, did you have some other way of expressing yourself or communicating with people, or like, was it just like, oh my God, I needed this?
um, oh, uh, I I'm an only child. you can't, if you know, if you couldn't tell by now. um, uh, yeah, I feel like I've always really tried to be part of things. Um, so that doesn't really answer your question.
Then, I mean, it's a kind of a weird question. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know, like, because the way you described it, it made me feel like you just sort of like, oh, writing, like, this is good. Like, I'll try this. But like, um, but I don't know, like when you like came to it, were you just like, oh my God, like this is like the thing I've been needing, or was it, I don't know, like it's just a,
uh, I just remember like reading poems online or watching people perform um, on YouTube and stuff, and so many people were also worried about the same things I was worried about, and I was just like, oh, you know, if I was a different person, I could also be on stage and delivering this thing, but that's not really me. But I also want to do this. So yeah, it did feel like a relief of some sort, or like it was what I wanted to do, but it took a while to actually say the things I wanted to say. So many of the first poems uh, I I submitted in the MA and stuff. Everyone was like, I feel like you're not saying. I feel like you're not saying something. I feel like there's something you want to say, but you haven't yet. And so it took a while. And for the book, I I was like, okay, no, I can't. I'm just gonna say it. And I know, there's a whole thing, show, don't tell. But at one point, I just rather be really honest about what was going on, and also trying to paint the picture exactly how I want it. I just want I because I'm always worried about how things should look like, and I wanted to be in control of those scenes and of those images. So I just had to say it all, basically.
wow. And I feel like in a way it must have been a big help that you were like that there was a pandemic and you couldn't go out do things, right?
Yeah,
Like
no. Yeah, it really forces you to. Yeah, it really forced me to do it in a good way. It was
yeah.
good to not be distracted because I just always want to be everywhere. um,
So it's we're not like pro pandemic, but
no, no, no,
but there
no,
have been some benefits.
no.
um okay, well, I'm like very excited for it to come out and for people to read it.
Thank you.
um I think everyone's gonna love it. But I want to like, so right, so you did a master's and now you're gonna do another one, like what's
Yeah.
happening?
um, yeah. I'm moving to New York in August, and I'm going to start an MFA in the fall. Um, yeah, I wanted to do it. I know it seems crazy to do a second master's, but for me, the MA was very much an introduction to writing, or to have, yeah, to writing really, and to think like that. Because after I graduated, first I thought I was going to do a master's in film or like American studies. Then I realized academia isn't that nice. And really, what I wanted to do was just talk to people about it and not necessarily um,
Right.
spend my whole life studying it. Um, and I kind of just decided um, that I wanted to do something more of just wanted to do my own stuff. Um, So, but I wasn't, and I knew about MFAs, but I wasn't ready at all to do something like that. I had no portfolio. I also had never lived outside of Portugal. I still lived at home because I commuted to school because it's so close. Um, Also, I feel like, in the States and the UK, probably, when you go to college, you move out of your home.
Right.
It's like the big change, and for us, especially if you live around Lisbon, it that doesn't really happen, and it can feel like an extension of high school when you
Hmm.
go to college, because at the end of the day, yeah, you're coming back, you're on the train back home, and you're still with your parents and with your friends from high school. Um,
Oh.
so it would I didn't feel ready to go or to even apply, and I didn't know anything about um, writing. So yeah, I learned about the MA. It was just a year, and the one I did at Goldsmiths. You don't have to pick a genre. So I knew I wanted to write poetry, and I applied with poems, but I just liked that you could try different stuff. So yeah, it was a good introduction. And as I said, first semester I was all over the place. I was dealing with moving to a new city, being really far from from the things I knew, and
Hmm.
I had to start thinking as a writer and actually write. And it took a while to write, to start writing. And then we had the pandemic, and I just wanted more and
Yeah.
to do something more intense and
Right.
just have time to write.
So you applied to go, like, do you, like, you're gonna move to the US? That's like another big change. Did are you are you like more excited about? Um, I mean, how do you feel about going to live in America?
Um, no, I feel really good about it. um, I also felt good about applying because I ended up befriending a lot of American Americans in my MA. That's
Hmm.
just the people just ended up being my close friends, and most of them um, moved back or moved to New York. So it's not like I'm going to be alone.
Yeah.
And but also having that experience in London, after a while, I just felt like, I could move anywhere. It'll be fine,
Right.
which is a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I applied to a bunch of schools, but most of them were in New York because I just thought that if these are my 2 years in the States, might as well be in a city where I really want to live.
Yeah. I mean, it it's a good. There's just like a lot of poetry as well. Like you can go,
Yeah, no,
you
exactly.
can like there'll be the people in the program and stuff, but you can also, I guess, when things get back to like being open all the time, if they do, hopefully, um, you'll be able to like go to a reading whenever you want and like to see like all the writers
Yeah,
that you like. Everyone will come there, and you can
yeah, everyone's
get like
there.
a real like a separate education in aside from like in academia and stuff. So I mean that would be like really cool. I feel like by the time you've done that, like you'll just be like I don't know, like you could do anything. Like
Yeah, no,
you just keep doing like like cool things keep happening, and it's just like, yeah, all right, like I'll go to London and I'll do this book, and now I'll go to New York. Like what will happen after that? Like
I've just been very lucky, but yeah, no, I'm excited. There's
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you're lucky, but in like I guess you can say that, but also like the reason why any of these things have happened is because you're like really talented, and the
thank
book
you.
is great. Like it's not like it's always like whenever you know someone and they like say like, oh, my book, like will you read my book or whatever, it's like always like feel a little bit nervous because you're like, oh, what if I don't like it, or like, what if I think whatever. but then like so of course I felt like that when you sent me your book, but then when I read it, I was like, oh my God, like what?
Oh, thank you.
How did this happen? Like I was just like, okay, that's great. Like,
I was so relieved when you said you liked it.
oh no, it's great.
Um,
I definitely wouldn't say that if I didn't think it. So
Thank you.
yeah. Um, do you want to read something from it?
Yeah, okay. I'll read a poem. Poem. Um, so, in just a note. In 2016, we won the Euro Cup,
Oh yeah.
which was a big thing for us. And if you ask anyone about the Euro Cup in Portugal in 2016, they'll tell you exactly where they were, who they were with, when we won, just everything. And so this is where I was. No, I'm joking, but okay,
No,
sorry.
sorry. I wanted to interrupt because I was in like I'm not French, but I was in France when France won the World Cup in whenever it was. I've lost track of time. But it's like the best thing ever, isn't it? Like when something like that happens, it's like the most exciting. Like everyone's just it's like pure chaos in the streets.
Yeah, no, I don't care about like football, but that
Right.
was one of the happiest days of my life.
Yeah, like everyone goes completely insane. Like the whole city, like I was in Paris, everything was just like went mental.
Yeah, and like the days after, it just
Yeah,
there's just an energy.
yeah, like it's really impossible to plan, but if you could ever plan to be in the capital city of a country that's winning a major football tournament, like you've got to try it sometime.
No, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the best time of it being in Paris ever for me. But yeah, so I'm excited.
Everyone is just so happy and overwhelmed.
Yeah, and like the police like are just there, but like they can't do anything to
Oh
calm
no,
anyone down,
no.
and everyone's just like taking selfies with them, and like people and, like in Paris, everyone was just like climbing lampposts and like standing on top of bus
Yeah,
stops,
yeah, yeah.
just like driving down the street with like people hanging out of the cars, and like
There's
just
so
like
much noise, and it just sometimes it just sounded like cannons or like yeah,
right,
it was great.
and it's just like this could happen anytime, right? We could all just go insane like whenever we want, but like like it doesn't take like it like in when France won the World Cup, it was like the game finished and we like were walking down the street and it had been like 5 minutes and there was like a car upside down on fire. And
Yeah.
it was just like, what? Like, how did this happen already? I mean, that's not
Feel like
really a great thing, but it was just like, oh my God.
yeah.
It's you're like, oh, we could,
No,
yeah.
it's a special time to be in a place.
You realize how fragile things really are. Like that could be
Yeah.
like we could all just do that. But um
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, I'm excited for the poem.
No, that's fine. Um, okay, so this is called Euro Cup 2016. Um, Here's what you need to understand. We all needed a win that summer. By we, I mean me, the boys, my girls in our parched country, our sulking land with its hands under the table, crushed knuckles and tanned, twitching knees, a nervous laughter capable of lasting through overtime. The hands become fabric, become flags, calling for the final whistle, for joy's uncontained shrill. And when it finally happens, we leave all of our things on the floor and exit with just our beating bodies. And someone's voice asks where we should go, and the men on the radio clench their microphones, say anywhere, anywhere but home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. So what date does your book come out?
It's coming out on the 30th of June.
Okay, cool. So good luck with everything. good luck
Thank you.
with the launch. And thank you so much for talking to me. And
Thanks for having me.
thank you for sharing this profound experience of poetry.